All right, today with our admin team here, just want to share some information in regards to increasing family engagement within our district, and I'm going to kind of go through the process of how we got here and why we're going to be talking about that. The first was, obviously, through this was to identify a need, and some of the ways to try to focus us, obviously, we started with the KESA rubric. And we went through that as a complete staff, if you'll remember, and then obviously took those back to our local BLTs, and then we got back together again, and we kind of did some things with it as well. Came up with the idea that relationships were probably an area that we need to focus in on, and also drilling that down to parent engagement. So kind of go from that. Again, these were the criteria that we're using from the accreditation: relationships, relevance, responsive culture, rigor, and results. So those four are the ones that we really tried to tackle. And from the relationships piece, that was something that our district decided to focus in on. As you can see on this next slide, when we completed this in the authenticated application, the district leadership team went through and again was very clear that relationship was an area that we wanted to concentrate on. So as we went through that, what I decided to do was to focus my project on this and then move to some journal articles to see what does the literature say about parent engagement and the needs that are out there. And it's really summed up well with this quote from Carrie Simke: "Family-school connections, linking parents and educators, and promoting shared responsibility for children's academic success are instrumental in addressing the needs of students." And that's really where the literature is taking us with that. And so with that in mind, went back to the KESA rubric for accreditation. And as the elementary BLT got together, obviously family engagement really rose to the top as an area that we know we do some of it. But a lot of what we thought about was it's really more about that family interaction rather than true family engagement. And so the areas within that rubric are broken down. And so we're going to just quickly take a look at the results of that. And I'll kind of explain how that worked. And again, this was based on all staff data when we did the carousel activity together. So if you take a look at this very first one, vision and goals for family engagement, you can see that we had 30% no evidence and 40% implementing. So you've got 70%. So I would say we probably need some direction with that. The next, obviously, is planning for family engagement. Again, we're kind of all over the place. We have 33% who believe there's no evidence and 45% that say we're transitioning. So there's a disconnect. We probably have pockets that are doing a pretty good job, but as an overall district, we're probably not hitting that the way we probably should.
Are those numbers relative to probably the staff that are engaged?
I would say that would be an accurate depiction of that. With the evaluation of family engagement, again, kind of the same kind of statistical look at that. And again, I think it's for those who are transitioning, just like you mentioned, Dr. Arkwright, that those are probably the people that are doing a good job with that, and they do spend some time reflecting on what does that look like. But again, we've got 12% that really, they don't see it at all. And then obviously that implementing, just kind of on the infancy stages of that.
Are these district numbers or are these?
These are district numbers. These are district numbers. This here, how do we monitor our family engagement? Again, pretty low. No evidence, and obviously, we're just kind of in that beginning stages of what does that even look like? How do we go about doing that? Some professional learning on family engagement. Again, we're all blue and red, so no evidence implementing. And I would say what this indicates is our staff probably doesn't feel real prepared when it comes to what do I do to make this happen? And so obviously, professional learning will be a very important part if we're going to move forward with something like this. And then taking a look at resources for family engagement. Again, we've got 77%, which I would say is kind of on the lower end of, what kind of resources do we have available as a staff to promote family engagement? Again, pretty low. 23% that said yes, again, are probably those go-getters that are really, that's something they're probably pretty good at. So we're going to need to tap into those people and allow them to kind of model and be the driver of that for us.
Do you have a feel for what's the perception of staff as far as what are they referring to as resources? Is that money, or is that partnerships? Is that?
That's something I think we'll come to learn and know as we continue our discussions about what does parent engagement need to look like, especially as we work towards a process of, creating a plan that can lay out some professional development, and then based on what we believe our needs are, I think that will become more clear. Communicating with families, I thought this was a good one, and this kind of goes along with that idea of the families who interact, because I do think we do a fairly decent job, or at least we have that perception. We do a pretty good job of communicating with parents.
Do you think that's us communicating with them?
Yes.
Not them
Yes,
communicating
that is what that's as far as that the description within the rubric. That's what that would indicate. Governance. Now this one's a little bit different because this is what does governance mean? I don't know that our staff totally understood this either, but those are the structures and processes that families may not know. They may not know how certain things work in a district. And so again, taking a look at that. Engaging families and communicating standards, curriculum, and assessments. Again, we don't even feel like we do a very good job of that. So again, from our perspective. And then taking a look at the educator evaluation on family engagement. And one of the things I would say here is we're kind of all over the place, the implementation. And I think the timing of that is very interesting because that is in our McCrell evaluation instrument. But when we did the survey, there were probably some that had not gone through that piece because probably only a third did when we did the survey. So again, I think that's part of the indication here because there is a piece within our McCrell teacher evaluation that is specific to that. So kind of moving on from there, if you have the parent survey, we decided it was important. We got teacher perspective, but now let's get some parent perspective. And so basically, I created a survey that was based on the PTA National Standards for Family School Partnerships, which is also listed in the KESA rubric as kind of the all-in-all. That's where you really want to be when you're taking a look at that. So I'm actually going to buzz through these because I know that we're limited on time. But what you're going to find here, and I'm not going to read through all of these, but what you're going to find here is, again, some of the same things that we see with staff perceptions are very much in line with our parent perceptions, which I think that's a good thing because then we can try to tackle that goal and basically have a focus there. They have resources at home to help them. A lot of them say no. Informed, yes. Again, I think that's a smiley face to me. Informed about school's goals on student achievement. That's not bad, it's not great. Informed about academic performance, very high. So again, that's that informed, that engaged piece. Do you feel comfortable going to a teacher? Absolutely. I found this one interesting. Would you attend a workshop on how parents and teachers can work together to help your child learn? We had 79% of the respondents who said yes, that would be something that they would be interested in. So I think it's great data. They want to be involved. Whether or not they could use additional support and understand the content, again, pretty high number, more than half. And help with homework. So to kind of summarize all of that information just here, the data analysis from that particular set of information from parents is families need educational resources. They indicated that families need opportunities to learn how to help their child learn, that families need help understanding the content, and they want to know how they can help their child with homework. So it goes beyond just the, information. They want to be involved in their students' education and helping them through that, but they just don't know how. Okay? So if we take a look at some professional learning, obviously finding some resources out there that will help us, and I do have one that I've researched, and it's got some great practical things to take a look at. But again, it goes back to this professional development cycle. First we have to plan it, and when I say we, it's not just us here. It's through our building leadership teams. It can be through PLCs. And it's something that's going to have to be done consistently, ongoing. It's not just a one and doneer and we're out the door. So it really is that, we have to develop something, we're going to push it out, we're going to do it, and then we're going to see, okay, what were the results of our efforts? And if you take a look at the supervisory plan, in other words, how are we going to make sure that it's sustainable, that there's fidelity to it? Obviously, putting together a district-wide professional development plan is very important so that everybody hears the same thing initially. And then going on to your district leadership team for oversight at the district level and also at the building level. And then having all staff participate in that training. And again, it needs to be consistent and frequent. It just can't be that one and done. It has to be that ongoing support. So the next piece is, well, where do we go from there, and what do we do now? And what I would say is we need to go to a resource such as this one, Working Together, a family engagement resource for Kansas educators, and really start pulling out information from that resource and really create some training modules that we will use with staff and that can be used throughout a school year. And so that it's not something that we just, okay, we expect you to do this and now we're done. We're actually going to walk them through in steps through each piece, because there are little bits and pieces throughout the process where we can meet some of the needs that were described in that survey. So, do you guys have any questions?
Good data.
Yeah. I went over my 10 minutes, but she's going to be okay with that.
Yeah.